So this is a question that was submitted by ALAINA, and it's a great story from last year. So I'll recount it for you all. A lot of you have already heard this story, but if you don't know who LEGGIN is, it's basically me. Okay, so last year we went on a missions trip to Ukraine. We had a pretty large team from the SYA, from our college group, that went there. And it was a super cool trip. We spent some time in the city of Kiev, Ukraine. And then for the last kind of part of the trip, we went to a camp that was kind of on the outskirts of the city, and basically just like a typical summer camp. It was a lot of fun, but those first couple days that we were in Ukraine, we were pretty jet lagged. It's a pretty long flight over there. It's like, there's like a straight 9-hour flight, or maybe it's longer than 9 hours. It's, I think, a little longer than 9 hours. And then there's like another leg that is a few hours, and with all like the layovers and stuff, it's a lot. I can't sleep on planes, so I get like super jet lagged and super tired.
Do you get jet lagged?
What? Do I get what?
Do you get plane armed?
What is that?
Jet lags. Plane armed.
Okay, this doesn't have anything to do with the story, but we're moving on. Okay, so we're in the city and we're staying at a motel, in Kiev. Anyway, so my roommate for this hotel room was Carson, and basically what happened is Carson woke up. I think it was like night one. Carson woke up. In like the early morning, probably like 2 or 3 a.m. And I do a lot of like rolling when I sleep. So I don't have like a static position. I kind of like roll around, and I had like rolled like towards him, and my leg was like always like over his legs. And so I just woke up with like a leg over his, and he was like, what? And he just like got super freaked out and like pushed my leg off. And I obviously don't remember it because I was sleeping. But so like the next morning we're going to breakfast, and he told everyone the story before I even got there. And so I get to breakfast, and everyone's like calling me Leggin, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, so I asked Carson. He tells me like the story of like how I got that nickname. But pretty much the entire trip, I was nicknamed Leggin. It was a good time, and I really liked that Ukraine trip. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to do it this year, because it's a really awesome like summer mission trip. But yeah,
that's a really good story. Me and Joey have had a lot of sleepovers together in high school, and I naturally just would always put my leg over Joey's legs.
You were just waiting to share this. I knew when he said the leg thing, you're like, well, I need to tell you something.
And then probably 50 times.
Correct.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't realize you were counting, but.
So you were asleep?
Yeah, I was asleep. It wasn't intentional. And like, so like the bed that we were sleeping on is basically the size of the bed that I sleep on every night. Like I have a pretty large bed. So I do a lot of rolling around. Like it's different when it's just you on a bed versus like someone else on a bed. So my subconscious mind probably just thought like, oh yeah, we can roll around like no problem.
It's free real estate.
But Carson just happened to be in the way.
Sure, he understands.
Yeah, good times.
Am I the only one who hasn't had this glorious experience?
Alrighty.
Yeah, maybe we should move on. What are our testimonies?
How should we do this? Short or?
Whatever you want. We got all the time in the world.
It's pretty simple. I mean, there's a lot of it, which, I'm not just going to share with the Ethernet, but I just, got saved by my dad. Like my dad shared with me, and my family's always been, my family, and I would say every member of my family, especially now, but my parents have always been excellent role models of the faith to me. And, we got proselytized to by my dad. And so, yeah, pretty young age. I think I was 10, maybe younger.
That's awesome. My turn?
Sure.
Make sure I'm still recording. Yeah, so I grew up in the church from the moment I can remember. And I remember first accepting Jesus into my heart when I was 5 years old from my Sunday school teacher named Nana Charlotte. And I like to look at like my love for Jesus when I was like 5 as like just like such a childlike faith. It's like the same way you love dessert after dinner is the way I love Jesus. When I was 5 years old.
Jesus is my ice cream.
Oh yeah. And then I think when you kind of like get older and you go through like your teenage years, it's like really up to you. It's like, okay, am I going to do this or not? And so long story short, it was kind of just like a lot of, ups and downs and finding like what it truly means to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So I'd say, it's been the last like 2 years that I've really kind of grown into that, and been more intentional with that. And there's been copious amounts of people that have helped me along the way. So yes, I'm sure if you guys want to know more, you can always DM us or ask us in person.
Yeah.
So yes, God is faithful.
I only accept carrier pigeon. I actually don't really check social media very often. So
Yeah, I mean, Chuila, am I right?
yeah, Chuila.
Send you a fax.
Fax it, guys. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Michael J. Fax.
Are you, Joey, are you ready or want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, so the best for last, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I feel like this is going to sound like, again, kind of what you were talking about, like cliche, but obviously I grew up in the church. And, my parents kind of introduced that to me. And, it was my choice. I think I was like 3 or 4 years old to like learn more. Like I wanted to learn more about Jesus and like what he did for me. And, I was like super young and super just like inquisitive. And, I didn't like actually accept Jesus until much later, but that was like the catalyst for my like spiritual walk. So and I think I was like 5 or 6, accepted Jesus. And then a little bit later, when I was in middle school and I was at a church camp, I kind of like rededicated my life. It's hard when you're like so young and you make that decision to like, you forget about it and, your walk changes. And so at some point, I just felt like I need to renew this thing that happened a long time ago that like, I don't really remember that much.
Yeah.
And I think that's good to kind of like revisit it every so often.
To test your faith,
Be like, kind of look back at it and be like, okay, how am I growing? What stage in the faith am I at? Do I still have doubts about things? Like personally, I feel like I don't have a ton of doubts, but I feel like my walk, it fluctuates. There are seasons when I feel more spiritually led and, spiritually closer to God. And then there are seasons where like I feel, more distant. So kind of just like assessing that. But that's kind of basically it. I know it's kind of like one of the more boring stories. Like I don't have this super crazy story. When we were at Ukraine, so that mission trip that I was talking about, it was really awesome to hear everyone's testimonies. And there were some really crazy testimonies. I was like, that is an awesome testimony. It's like not as quote unquote cool as mine, but I don't think any of ours are like better or worse than other people's.
The cool thing though about, people's testimonies or God's testimony, like on how he, is that we're all connected though. So as the body of Christ. So, part of our testimonies, they never really stop though either.
I thought about answering this question is like, I'll tell you when it's over. When people ask me about my testimonies, like, I'll tell you once I'm dead. How about that? Because who are we to say what will happen down the road? How about you, Joey?
That's dope. You ready? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, not super nuts or anything. I grew up in a Christian home, went to Christian school with Ethan. And I think I became a Christian when I was a little guy. I think I understood the gospel and what Christ had done for me. But I think like when I got to college, obviously when you leave, I talked about that earlier. When you leave your house, it's like, okay, do I want to follow Jesus? And at that point, I wouldn't say I was like questioning whether or not I wanted to. It was more so like, I don't know. I wasn't questioning his existence. I was questioning whether or not I wanted to follow him when I got to college.
Interesting.
So it was like, man, do I want to? Because it was just so obvious. I played college. I was like in a college football environment, and there's obviously the worldly perspective, and there's a way to follow Jesus, and the way to follow Jesus in college is like not super popular. You know, there's like two dudes doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, when I got to college, somebody, just a guy on the team, one of those two guys, basically just started just walking me through the gospel and explaining what Jesus had done for me, which I knew, you know, like I grew up in a Christian home. Yeah. And that was the convicting thing about it. It was like, I should know all the answers to these questions. But yeah, he took the time to sit down with me and explain the gospel like in really great detail. I think that was when I was like, and I could see clear differences in their lives compared to like other people's lives. And I was like, man, that's so attractive. And I want that. And also just understanding the gospel like that, while I was still weak, Christ died for me. Like, I don't know. It's just like God like helped me like understand that how weak I am when I got to college and how much I need him and how beautiful that is and how much he loves me. And yeah, so I'd say in college was just like, it's just a totally, different. God did a ton in my heart then. So.
Seems like every week it's a newer and deeper appreciation of how completely messed up I am. And that need was something which I didn't give much thought for as a young Christian. So I would say that it seems to me, now I don't know what other people's testimonies are, but it seems to me so clear cut with other people. It's like they get saved and then their life gets turned around. But I got saved at a young age, and it took a long time and a long search just to realize, like, I had a mental acquiescence. Like, I believed the doctrine, I believed the ethics mostly, and I believed the scientific evidence for it. Like, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's reasonable. That's reasonable to me. I believe in a young earth. I believe in all these things. Like, I think that's reasonable. But for the actual Christian doctrine, which is that God saved me and that like I actually need that, I think I hadn't yet completely accepted that, you know?
Yeah.
So it took a long time. C.S. Lewis was definitely formative for me. Reading Mere Christianity and other works by C.S. Lewis certainly helped me to understand that.
I've heard the phrase like, to help people understand, like, say there's a chair in front of you. It's like, do you believe that there's a chair there? Like, yeah, there's a chair there. Do you believe that chair can hold you up? Yeah, I think so. Then why aren't you sitting in it? You know, I feel like that's a lot of our walk, like with Christ. Like, why aren't you sitting in it? You know, why are you trusting in him? You know, so that's in C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. I'm not smart enough to read those books. I tried. Like, I'm like reading this. I'm like, what is he? You know?
Yeah. Maybe you just need to work yourself up. It's fine. I love C.S. Lewis. He's definitely my favorite author, especially when it comes to apology and just as a Christian apologetic. He really well explains. And it's kind of funny to me that he only did that. Like, we think of him as one of the greatest Christian apologetics of all time. But he did that not because he wanted to, but because the clergy weren't. So it was because nobody else was doing it that he felt like he had to. It's very interesting. I think sometimes the greatest things done in this life are done by people who are unwilling.
Yeah. I'm sure we all could go a lot more in depth. So if you have any desire, just ask.
DM me.
So we got some questions for Joey, in particular. So these should be fun. Yes, she will remain nameless, but yes. Okay. Who's the dog? Who's that Doge?
That is Buddy. He was rescued from Dallas when there was those hurricanes, you know?
Oh, really? That's cool.
There's anything else about the dog?
What's Buddy's favorite color?
Oh, he hasn't told me yet.
That's interesting.
He hasn't told me that much about himself.
I like Buddy the dog. I also like Vinny.
The way you say that means that he has said some stuff about himself. I feel like that's remarkable, don't you think?
He's not smart actually at all. He's like really like, Buddy, don't listen to this podcast, right? Like, he just is like, So, for example, I put a cloth. You can tell how smart an animal is. Like if you put a cloth over their head and how fast they can get the cloth off their head. And so on my other dog, I put a cloth on his head. Vinny is his name.
Yeah.
And I put the cloth on his head, and he got the thing off like right away. He's like, "Get this thing off me." I put the cloth on Buddy, and he fell asleep. So it's like, there's
a spiritual allegory in here, I'm sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They say dogs are like their owners, and I see a correlation between Buddy and Joey. Buddy the dog.
Go to sleep.
Joey can sleep anywhere. I've seen Joey sleep anywhere. In the most uncomfortable places.
I wish I could do that.
I wish I could do that too. I try to take naps. I can't take a nap worth anything. I'll just sit there and stare at the ceiling like, what am I doing here?
Depends on my day.
I could be doing something with this time.
Yeah, it's like I should be reading a book or something like that. Yeah. But I'm so tired. I can't sleep.
Do you have a favorite beach? I've been to the beach once in Panama City.
You mentioned walking on the beach, so
yeah, I was just trying to be funny. I don't know. I don't have a favorite beach.
I'll tell you my favorite beach, West Beach on Whidbey Island, looking out over the Pacific, but it's still kind of cold and temperate. So
is that in Washington?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Whidbey Island, Washington. Shout out to all my Oak Harbor fans. All right.
So on kind of that note, what's a place you'd like to explore?
Everywhere. I haven't been that many places, so like I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see Australia is an interesting country. Oi, mate.
Oi, mate.
Shrimp on the bobby.
Kangaroos are for dinner.
I'd say Australia.
Down under.
Down
under.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna attempt it. No.
Sorry to all my Australian fans out there.
Which one?
Yeah.
You know, like the data analytics where it can show like where people are streaming in from.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if we had like an Australian one from all?
I mean, I appreciate like Australians, just their like sense of humor and just their personality. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like the crocodile guy.
There's like some comedians that like I follow from Australia, and they're like completely different from like American comedians in like a really good way.
We need to make sure to send out a copy of this inverted for our Australians to watch. Make sure it's upside down so they can watch it with the proper aperture and everything. Yeah, I think we should make sure to do that, in case we have any Australian fans.
Nice. All right, Ethan, this question is directed at you from Mark Moen.
Oh gosh. Blankets equals social dominance. I don't necessarily
Explain for those who don't know the inside joke. Explain why this question was asked.
Yeah, so I guess it started where most of my friends' houses where I go, I always grab a blanket. I think I've done it for years. It's just kind of like a comfort thing. As far as the social dominance part comes in, I honestly think it's just an inside joke between me and Buddy that like, I really don't even have words to describe. I think me and Buddy we hung out last week at Friendsgiving, which was about 25 of us in a house, and me and Buddy were on the couch snuggled up in a blanket, and he's like, do people think we're weird? And I'm like, no, you just have to be confident and state your dominance. And if you're just confident, cuddle up on a blanket with another man, then
yes, once you can do that, you
can do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
But yes, blankets. That's the question.
Is it social weakness though?
No.
Because I almost view it as like I need a blanket so I'd be cozy because like
that's true.
Do you question my social weakness?
No, I'm just.
Okay, well, here's the thing though.
That's just my opinion on it.
He's grabbing the blanket from the people he's guests at. So like he'll just grab their blanket. He takes their blanket. You see, that is asserting social dominance. Yeah. And then also if you're sharing a blanket, you need to make sure to get the majority. That is asserting social dominance.
I think this question was. I think we went too in depth for what it really was. Like I like blankets.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. I like blankets.
I wasn't a teddy bear kid. I had a blanket.
I will say though that I've done like sleepovers at other people's, playing video games late into the night, and then you just stay there because why not? Yeah. I've done those and like slept without blankets.
Yeah.
Slept without blankets?
Yes.
Why?
because I'm strong.
Oh my gosh.
Or you're just not confident in your masculinity.
There wasn't anything around, and so it's just like, well, whatever.
Just kind of like,
This is my life.
I'll just sleep now. Yeah.
Biggest conspiracy theory that you believe or could believe. I'm gonna just go. Maybe this might be the vote.
We need to look anything up. We can look things up. So go
Voter fraud. That's also a question we have later, I think.
Question.
Voter fraud, yay or
A little
nay?
bit later.
We'll
shelve that topic first.
Yeah, okay. Conspiracy theories. I used to be kind of into conspiracy theories mainly because Joey got into conspiracy theories a few years ago. I think the deep state is something that we should acknowledge, but
What's the deep state?
I'll let you have to ask.
if you have to ask, we'll have to kill you, Joey.
Yeah. He'd tell you, but then
Very brief, broad, deep states like all the high up political leaders and like high people with power
Yeah.
have come together, like both Democrat and Republican, and so just huge social, people that have a lot of presence, and
Gotcha.
they kind of run the United States in the deep state. Very, very bad.
One conspiracy theory. Well, here's the thing about conspiracy theories too. Conspiracy theory is both a blanket term and it's an epithet. So it's a blanket term that covers all theories, no matter what you're talking about. And then it's an epithet because it's used to discredit any kind of theory or system of belief, regardless, again, of how much evidence is for it. You can say it's conspiracy theory when there's lots of evidence that's for it. Because that's just, there's a conspiracy going on. I think one conspiracy theory, which I believe in, is a attempted at least communist takeover of the United States, especially system of education. Having a public system of education was originally a communist idea. It's not actually necessarily laid out in our founding principles. It was something that was brought in through, that red wave or whatever. So I actually believe that. I think it's not something which is good per se. So yeah.
Dude, an interesting thing that someone brought up to me is like, think about how creepy it sounds if you walk into a classroom of second graders and they're all pledging allegiance to the flag. Like, obviously we grew up with that, so it doesn't sound that weird. But it's like, if you walked into Russia and you saw that, you'd be like, oh, they're communists. It's like, that's kind of a weird thing.
I agree, but I disagree because there's a distinction. If we were pledging allegiance to the president, I would agree. It's like, no, don't ever pledge allegiance to a man.
Okay.
And if we were pledging allegiance to a government, I would say no. But what we're pledging allegiance to is a symbol. It's a symbol of liberty. You're pledging allegiance to the doctrine, I say doctrine because I was just reading some doctrine. So, but we're pledging allegiance to those principles. America wasn't founded on people, but ideas.
Yep, that's a good point.
What do you think, Cam?
What's mine? So the Denver airport.
Oh, bro. Nobody believes me.
Okay, so the Denver airport, there's a few things. So the first thing is that it was built by a construction company called like the New World Order or something similar to that, was like the company that actually built it. So that's a little strange. But then it's also got the Freemason symbol on the cornerstone of the airport. Yep. Also a little weird. And then it's also got these murals. There's I want to say 3 or 4 murals, giant murals in the airport. And I haven't fully taken the time to sit down and discover what it means or whatever. But it's super weird. There's there's one where it's it's like genocide. It's like a Nazi that is killing children, and there's fallout and just utter destruction. So that's I think the first one. And then there's one where there's a few in the middle. There's one where it's a bunch of forests are on fire, and there's it's nature's dying and stuff. And then there's the last one, which is where people of every nation are coming together, and it's just weird. And there's a rainbow, and it's just a symbol of unity. It's just super weird. And then the last thing is the horse, the demon horse, the blue demon horse. I think I saw this on a podcast. It might have been the Joe Rogan podcast. I don't remember which one, but it was super interesting. I don't remember like what the verdict was. It was something about how it was the airport had like a secret base like underneath it that they were planning on using when like everything like some world war happened. The people that built it or whatever would like use this bunker to like survive basically. Sure. But wow, it's pretty whack. It's pretty out there. But yeah, it's still up. I mean, nothing's happened to it. So
hey, here's one thing. What do you guys think about raiding Area 51?
That was so last year.
Yeah, I didn't even pay attention to that. I couldn't even give you like a synopsis of.
Apparently, somebody showed up.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone did?
Well, this is the internet we're talking about.
So did they get shot?
No, I think they were just told to go home. But what do you guys think about Area 51? What do you think about the conspiracy theories around it? Yeah, let's go with aliens.
I think Area 51 could have something there. I don't think it's aliens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's where we keep, unless I might be mistaken, but I think Area 51 in Nevada is where we keep a lot of radioactive waste. Yeah. So and there's a good reason why we should keep that a secret. But then also we do a lot of nuclear testing around there and stuff like that. So
yeah. Do you guys believe in aliens?
Do I believe in aliens? No,
I don't believe it. I don't believe in aliens.
Okay, so we want to talk about how big space is. Space. The final frontier. No, space is so big and so vast. It is a miracle that life exists at all. It is not the status quo of space. You look out in space and it's lifeless. So that is one of the reasons why I believe in a God. Now, would a God want to create two sentient species? I think it would upset the hierarchy, but I don't know. I don't believe in aliens. I do believe that there is a lot of demon possession and stuff that goes on that I think a lot of people are messed with by demons masquerading as all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The crazy thing about space is just like, it's so vast. It just like takes so long to get pretty much anywhere. Like, what was that movie, Ad Astra? I don't know if you guys saw Ad Astra. It was an all right movie. It had some interesting things. The most interesting thing about it is there's a segment where he's traveling between planets, and it's in the future where everything is commercialized. So the moon is like a big industry where people go to like sightsee, and there's like tons of ads up everywhere, and it's like a tourist trap basically. But then he goes like, he has to go, I think he goes to like Pluto or Neptune or like one of those other planets. It's like really far away, and it takes him like years. Like there was like one trip between like two planets. It took him like years to get there. And like that's only our solar system. Yeah. And like beyond our solar system, there's just like so much else. So the argument that people make for aliens is, well, it's so vast and so large that, way out there could be something, in a different galaxy.
Aliens, it's so vast. Why would they find us? How could they find us?
So, it's impossible for us to prove that they are or that they aren't. Yeah. But I think the probability of there being aliens is highly unlikely.
Yeah. Especially if you come from creationistic worldview. You can't. Is it possible? Sure. Maybe God reflects himself in many other creatures, but God doesn't tell us a story but our own. Like, he doesn't tell us anything that doesn't relate to us, So I don't see why it's very profitable to think about it or to question whether it exists or not. Yeah.
I think my mini theory on it is God is just saying, like, we've just discovered more and more space. He's just saying, like, look how big I am. Like, he's just trying to show off, basically. Just by making space and just to show, like, you're the only creation here. Like, I think that's the point of God's creation of space. But
people, I don't know. I like to think of life, especially, it's kind of like fine china. It's so fragile. Yeah. It does not occur naturally. You don't find life occurring by itself or coming from nothing. Yeah. It's so delicate. And people talk about climate change and all these things, and I don't think we control the climate. I don't think I think that's overestimating mankind. If you think that mankind could greatly damage even their own country, like the land itself. I think you might be overestimating mankind.
I mean, everything is entropy. So.
Yeah, so everything's already on its way out. The one thing we know about the world is that since it had a beginning, it has to have an ending. Yeah. But yeah, it's just so vast, and we are just such an exception to the rule that it seems weird.
That might be the pizza. Tattoos, baby. All right, Ethan. Let's see. Let's just tell us like a brief synopsis.
Who asked this question?
Me. Oh. just like a brief thing, like the tattoo. You don't have to like show it. Just like you can just like explain it. Just like super brief.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So I got them when I was playing. I played football and ran track my freshman and sophomore year. So it was kind of just like the thing that I told myself I would do when I was in high school was pierce my ears and get tattooed. So I did both. I no longer have my earrings. I think I could put them in still. So I have a tattoo on my chest and it says love in Korean. And then I have a tattoo on the inside of my arm and on the outside of my arm. And if you guys want to know more, you can ask me in person. Or DM us questions on Instagram, just Facebook, YouTube.
Pics, okay? Don't ask for pics.
Unless it's a chest.
No. Just keep it PG.
Keep it PG. Hairless. I'm hairless. I'm hairless.
That's right.
My abs are looking pretty good right now. So.
Oh, yeah. My abs are too, both of them.
Nice.
Yep. Does anyone else have tattoos?
I don't.
Look at me.
Yes, I do. No, just I've definitely like thought about tattoo ideas.
You look.
I have one. What?
You look like a guy that would have one.
Yeah. I kind of have an idea for one. It would be just like a typography tattoo. I don't know. Maybe there's some image that I could like make to go alongside with it, but it's basically like. So my last name is Simpson. So I looked at like the history of like the Simpson name, just like in history, and it's like one of those medieval like super old names. It's like Scandinavian heritage, so it's got like some Viking. There's like some Viking blood in there, but basically it means there's like it's like son of Simon is basically like what it means. There's like some different like permutations on like the actual like name itself, but there's a like a tagline or like a motto that goes along with it. That's nil desperandum, which I believe is Latin for never despairing, which is kind of like it's kind of like a thing that I do anyway, is like, trying to be positive in like every situation. And I don't know, I feel like that's a trait that fits well to me. Anyway, it's Latin, so Latin's cool, right?
No, actually, I think my last name Thompson is of a similar type of origin. That Simp, Tomp, yeah. It's a similar thing. It's son of Thomas. And my family crest, it also had I looked at my family history, it also had some kind of Latin phrase. I don't remember it exactly. I think it was truth above all, like veritas super or something like that. No, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was truth above all, but I'm not absolutely certain.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joey, if you got a tattoo, what would you get?
Tell them about the tattoo that you were going to have to get.
You have one?
Just can't show you.
Tell them about the
I'd have to kill you. No, I actually don't have one.
Tell them about the tattoo that you're going to have to get if the deal we made.
What?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to share this or not.
Okay.
I will say if I did something of significant, like it was, Okay, if I would have made it to like the NFL, which is like super, small percentage that would happen.
5% chance.
I have to get a tattoo someplace, so we'll keep moving. All right.
Next question.
Okay.
Okay, so someone asked, we redacted the name because it's a sensitive question. No, not really, but I don't know. I just thought it was funny to redact it. Okay. So yeah, what do I do when I'm around a girl I like, but she is oblivious?
What would I do when I'm around a girl I like, but she's oblivious? Okay. It sounds soft. I mean, you just gotta talk to her. You know what I mean? You gotta be a man, and you gotta go up to her and actually like say something. Not in a weird way, but like you gotta do something.
You want to get food?
You want to get food?
No, I think it's pretty important if you ask a girl on a date. Now, I'm terrible at this, but I think it's pretty important if you ask a girl on a date that you make sure you communicate clearly like what your intentions are and like that it's a date. Because I imagine, I don't know, because I'm not a girl, but no, I don't know, but I think that's probably that probably leads to a lot of anxiety, just not knowing like what is this? Is this a date? Is this not a date? Is this just lunch? Is like, what is this? I think it's pretty important that you make clear your intentions for sure.
I think
Using a lot of discernment.
the cultural thing to do from a worldly perspective, I think a lot of people would say like the common theme I'm seeing is like sliding to the DMs, It's like, let's just do this the most passive way possible. It's like, no, let's, just go up to her and talk to her.
No, for sure. You want to talk to her in person because it's easy to send a text. There's so much insulation there. There's not much risk. But to talk to her in person, you're putting everything on the line.
Yeah, and I feel like sliding to the DMs, it has a very like scummy connotation to it, to where it's like you're just hitting up like everybody that you think is attractive, or like you're basically like you're just like quantity pretty much. But if you do it like in person, it's talk to them, it's way more personal, and it gets across that like you're interested, and hopefully you are interested. Intention is like, going off of what you were saying, intention is like so important. If you're like kind of on the fence, then it's better to just cut it off than to just like keep going like, oh, maybe not. If you have intention and you want to seek it out, then definitely seek it out.
But maybe we should make our podcast about masculinity. We're all young men, so like,
isn't it already?
Yeah. Oh, good point. No, it's also about blankets and social dominance. It's part of masculinity, I'd say. Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. I think mostly, I don't know. I like to ask myself before I do anything, would an idiot do that thing? And if they would, then I don't do that thing. No, I think a lot of it is just communication, I imagine. But, I'm the most inexperienced out of, you could pick 100 people and I'd be the most inexperienced out of them all. So
I think I can also vouch for that as well. I don't know very much about this, but I would say from a Christian aspect is you probably should pray a lot about it, and then just kind of use discernment on how to address each situation, because situations are different. So who knows?
And I think, so the main point though, if you want to know what to do when you're around a girl you like, but she's oblivious, is make sure she's no longer oblivious. If being oblivious is a problem, either you'll figure out that she's blind and deaf by the end, or you'll have gotten the point across.
Is the question, this is actually an important part of the question, is she oblivious that I like her?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then you gotta...
I have a few problems with that, and I don't know if I can articulate it well. It's like, why are you trying to figure out if she likes you or not? Like, you know what I mean? Like giving her signs. I guess that makes some sense. I guess you show more grace, but like...
I think it comes from fear. I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. You don't want to be turned down. And I totally get that.
So you want to know that she likes you before you...
It's reciprocated too.
Gotcha. Okay.
And men, I say men as if in the abstract. Men, other people, not me. I have transcended. No, other people, no, everybody. Everybody wants closure, and everybody wants to know that they won't be just turned down offhand.
Yeah.
So
I'm cool with being single forever.
you know, of all the people that I've met, I look at you and I'm like, dude, he could pull it off. This guy, he could do it. No.
I have seen though a lot where they're presented with this problem, and so their first instinct is to do what we said, you know, make it clear what your intention is, ask them out, and it just goes horribly wrong, and they basically get rejected. And I've seen it like multiple times. So I guess it's kind of a situational thing too.
You gotta use discernment and pray about it.
You know, yeah.
But
Situation's different.
I think like our culture is getting away from like the man. Like I feel like there's something uniquely manly about like taking that rejection.
Of course.
It's like you're supposed to take that hit in the huevos for her. It's like you're putting huevos rancheros. You're supposed to put yourself in that situation. So I don't know. That's an interesting topic, but
Yeah, and I think I actually kind of want to now do a podcast, just an episode about masculinity, because there's so much we could talk about how far we've fallen from that. Because nowadays it's considered toxic masculinity to expect that you are the one to initiate, to pay for dates, all these things that we growing up in Christian households where there's a positive image of the father and like there's a solid base there. I couldn't imagine what it's like thinking otherwise. But yeah, nowadays it's no longer the norm that those masculine traits and behaviors, it's no longer normal.
Yeah.
They aren't relegated to men now. They aren't the responsibility of the man anymore. Men have given up their responsibility and women are taking it.
I remember just at one point asking someone advice on just, you know, this kind of stuff. And just like, I was like, man, I just don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like, I just don't, is there something wrong with me? Like, I don't know. Like, he's, you know, just telling me like, this is typically how you should go about doing this. I think it's just our culture. It's just like, it's trained us to just say like, to be as passive as possible, to slide into the DMs, you know, to like, does she like me? I hope she does. Maybe I'll just play this out, you know, like,
infantile.
Yeah. Like, and I've been there. I'm not saying I haven't, but it's just like, you know, yeah, it's interesting.
All right. Another heavy hitter, discrimination in America.
Sandra, what a guy. One of my best friends, one of the weirdest guys I know. And Joey's best friend. Discrimination in America.
I almost feel like this question could just,
Worse for Asians or African Americans?
I almost feel like it could be expanded to like, what geographic do you think is most discriminated against? Because it's not just like these two. I feel like there's a lot of others where there's a lot of discrimination. That isn't the question, but I'm just saying a thought.
So was it phrased earlier? Wasn't it? Do Asians face more racism than Black African Americans? Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys can say your subjective opinions, and I can say my subjective opinion from being from a Korean American area.
If there's an issue, I've got an opinion. All right. So I've done a little bit of research on this, and I would say yes. Actually, for Asians, especially when it comes to college, you have to have a much higher SAT to get into a college than for an African American because of the affirmative action program. So if you want to say that being white is just the status quo of race, like that is the baseboard, that if anybody's discriminated against, then they're below that. Or if anybody is allowed, if there's allowance made for anybody, then they'd be above that. Then that's just the base when we're going on. I think, I remember actually Louder with Crowder is a great resource for this if you guys want to talk about affirmative action and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of discrimination against Asian students on the campus, keeping them, even though they have a really high SAT score, because these campuses need a quota. They need to fill a quota of people.
Interesting. Yeah. So being a Asian American here, just a Korean immigrant trying to make it here in America. Yeah. So, when you're talking about discrimination and racism, that's such a broad topic on its own.
It is.
I guess from more of an emotional standpoint, like not, you know what I mean? Just like my subjective, experiences. Yeah, I think Asians kind of get like they kind of get shafted as far as like, cause it's like, okay, Black people, white people, like Mexican people, all like make like racist, connotations to me. Or, I've had it, happen my entire life. And then it's just like, oh, well, you guys are just smart and successful. Just like, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, cause
Asians, there's not much attention.
yeah. So, I've experienced it from all races. Like what he said, affirmative action, the Harvard study was, it's easier, African Americans and white people need lower SATs than someone like myself to get into Harvard. I could never get into Harvard anyways though. I guess like systemic, like the academic system, kind of the government's, the way the government's set up. There's such a loaded question. Actually Asians have the highest wage gap between themselves out of any other race, from like the poorest to the highest, like the ultra rich to the lowest of the lowest
Within America?
in America. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So
That's interesting. Yeah.
So
I think we want to talk more vaguely about discrimination in America. If we want to say discrimination, we really should talk about whether systemic discrimination or just private or public. Let's define it into private and public, because there will always be evil, hate-filled, and stupid people in any country, anytime, any day.
yeah.
But if we want to talk about systemic, you have to address the laws and systems we have in place. Now, I don't know if you guys believe that there's systematic discrimination going on. It is a very prevalently held belief. That it is. I'm sure there's some merits to it. I've heard a lot of reasoning for it, and I've seen a lot of statistics which are definitely disconcerting. But I don't think that it is systemic. It is built into the system. I think a lot of it is an artifice of the people within the system. It's not actually the system itself. So if we want to talk about systemic discrimination, I think almost every single time it's going to boil down to just one personal choice of an individual who may have had more power, may have had less power, but you can't accuse the system. And that's what's right now. It's happening a lot with Black Lives Matter. They're accusing the system. They're accusing the country. They're accusing the founding principles of what just people did, of what private individuals did. So I think that's a fallacy. You can't take part to whole. You can't see the part and then blame the whole for what that part is.
All right, next question.
All right.
Another political question.
Oh dear God.
Is voter fraud a thing?
Is voter fraud a thing?
You guys said you want to talk about this, so
Honestly, I don't want to. Can we just skip to the next question, please? I really don't. I don't want to dig deep anymore. We need a lighthearted question.
Joey, what do you think?
Yes, Tristan. Thank you for answering this. I'm gonna say to an extent, yes, 100%, and I think we're gonna see some weird stuff that comes out in the next month.
I think yes, but it is something that is so hard to prove that I could see why people say that it's not a thing.
Yeah, I think
that's my stance.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say I think it's possible, but I'm just over it. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's get the person in there. All right.
Hashtag Asian Lives Matter. Hope you're doing well, Tristan. Yoga, yay or nay? Oh,
Haven't you guys even done yoga? Like proper yoga, not like stretching.
Yes, this is an interesting question. I don't think you guys were here when me, Robbie, and Judah.
Yeah.
So basically, to dive into this very briefly, Judah does yoga, or he says the stretching he does is called yoga, and Robbie was basically like it was originated, it's a Hindu religion. We should, if you really look at the origins of yoga, it's just not very. But then thinking about that, the Hindu, they can't solely it's stretching. We all stretch. So it's like they can't take that one thing and claim it to be solely theirs. Yeah. That would be like me raising my hand and saying that, I'm following Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's kind of just like your motives behind it.
Right.
Here's a question used. I know somebody who is really strongly against yoga. Now, if we're talking about yoga, the definition of yoga for all you guys includes meditation and Buddhist practices. So it's like deep breathing, meditation, and stretching. Those are 3 parts of yoga, but there's specific poses that are unique to yoga. It's not just stretching. There's a lot of it that goes beyond that. There's levels of yoga. There's all kinds of stuff to yoga. Now, if we're talking about the whole package of yoga, I think we might all agree that since it's a Hindu practice, anybody who professes a differing religion, such as Christianity in our case, but even Mohammedanism, like being Muslim, I feel like that would be a valid reason to not practice yoga. You can't practice conflicting.
If I didn't know what the definition of yoga was, but I just liked to, meditate on, after I read the Bible, just kind of pray, stretch, and do some of the same poses. And I was like, yeah, I did yoga today. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with me saying that.
Well, your definition of meditation is probably different.
Yeah, but are we talking about are we talking about meditation? Are we talking about the core definition of whether we should say yoga, or are we talking about
would you do yoga? I think is the question.
You don't know what you don't know. I didn't know all that stuff. I don't really care about that stuff, and it's easier to cluster yoga than if I'm going to go to a yoga class. I'm not going to be like I'm going to go to some stretching class where I don't know. I feel like yoga is just kind of the term that I use, and I don't feel like I need to make it some legalistic thing and originate it back to the Hindu. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, you're going way really deep. I don't know. I mean, would you do yoga or not? Like, if it was just you and you were watching a YouTube video about how to do yoga, would you do yoga?
I don't feel like I need to change the word from yoga to stretching because of where the word originated from.
Right.
Here's a question.
That's me, yeah.
If bowing to Mecca was proven to have health benefits, would you guys do it?
No.
I feel like that's different, though.
Yeah.
How so? Because these things.
Because yoga is I feel like it's kind of like meditation. You give it whatever meaning you want to give it.
I don't know at what point you'd be able to say that, but I know there is a lot of meaning.
It's almost like praying.
What about wrestling?
Like saying, I'm going to pray doesn't necessarily mean that you're praying the same way as other people. I don't know, does that?
Have you ever looked at where wrestling was originated? Like it was worshiping Greek gods.
What the heck?
That's not the origin of wrestling. Wrestling has been in Jewish culture.
In early Olympics, though, that's what they did.
Sumerian culture. It was They didn't worship the Greek gods by wrestling. They wrestled at a celebration of Greek gods. They drank alcohol when they celebrated Bacchus, and they slept with prostitutes when they celebrated Aphrodite. That's not saying that's worshiping them. That's what they did. That's celebration. But if we're talking about yoga, these are things specifically designed to worship the God. This is we are doing this because it's a symbol.
But then why don't we change the word praying then? If praying, if you can pray to Allah, you can pray to, Jesus. If how can we just clump praying then? Because it's covering all religions when you say praying. So when you say yoga, we're automatically associating that with Hinduism.
Yep.
Why can't we then associate yoga with Christianity and meditating on the word and stretching and just
because we've
filled with the Holy Spirit,
given up those old deities and the fake gods. So I'm not against stretching. I feel like the more we focus on yoga as stretching, the less productive this conversation will be, because you can stretch and it might be a yoga pose, but if you're doing it for the purpose of yoga, if you recognize that it has a meaning, if you recognize its meaning, which the people who invented it gave it, this yoga had a meaning to begin with, then I feel like you're not being completely honest with yourself. You're not being completely coherent in your beliefs.
But me saying yoga, I have no idea what the definition is. I still don't know. And I don't see a problem in that. It's you don't know what you don't know. So it's ignorance is bliss. I don't know. It's what I've been told growing up my entire life.
Robbie's having an aneurysm.
I'm going to say yoga. I'm going to go home and I'm going to read my Bible, pray, and I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to read the Bible, the Bible.
But see, I don't think a lot of people even realize the meaning that yoga has. I appreciate that you have looked into it and that you know. I just don't feel like most people like us know.
And so I just
don't care. I'm going to say yoga.
Here's the thing. So we as Christians are called to discern these things. We're called to find out the truth. And so I don't mind anybody who was practicing yoga and stuff. I would mind if you continue to, knowing its value and knowing its origin, if you continue to do it in spite of it. If there's a hint of something that's not good, anything not done in faith is sin, according to St. Paul, right? So anything not done in faith is not not done in full conscience, not done in good conscience.
As believers, though, I feel like the core of what like our way of doing yoga is completely different than like Hindus' way of doing yoga. So as far as like, you know, like when you like completely like blank, like your mind, you know what I mean? Like clear what
Amusement, lack of thought.
lack of thought. Like I feel like Christians' version of that's just going to be different. And I feel like it's just kind of the cultural, like our culture is where we say yoga. I feel like there's tons of words that if you originate it back are probably not very edifying or completely opposite of like.
For sure. So I'm just going by what the definition of yoga is. So the yoga is not stretching and yoga is not deep breathing. Yoga is the combination of amusement, lack of thought, the stretching specific stretches, a system, like almost a doctrine of stretches, if I can reuse that word.
But I'm not doing that when I say yoga though.
Okay, that's fair.
Then why call it yoga?
Why would it? Because that's just what I call it. That's what, you know, I did yoga.
He wants to be able to say he did yoga.
Oh,
It's a buzzword. I don't know.
okay. Well, if you want to flex the fact that you did yoga, I would just ask you, why do you feel like you need to call it yoga?
What I wonder is like, is there a difference in actually like the actual practice of it from person to person, or is it like the exact same types of stretches? Because I feel like there's a lot of variation.
Yoga, I mean, it's a system. It's part of the Hindu religion, right? It's a system of religious expression. So it has health benefits because deep breathing, you'll agree, breathing well, it's good. I think we'd all say that. Breathing well, it's good. Stretching, it's a good thing. And it might be even relaxing to just, relax your mind, to not focus on everything. That's good. Right. Although as Christians, we are called to think deeply, not to give up our thought. We're called to meditate, but not meditate in the modern sense of emptying your mind. Yeah. We are called to concentrate on things which are pure, lovely, good.
True. I think it is good to detach though and kind of decompress, which could mean not thinking about as much as believers are too.
But meditation means to clear your mind. Like you're trying to just become empty. Like that's what meditation is.
Yeah,
like
nowadays.
What about like meditating on the word? So what if as Christians, I'm just going to change the definition of yoga to like the Christian definition of yoga and then continue to say yoga.
Meditating on the word is like you're reciting it over and over in your head. Like that's what meditation, like I meditate on your word day and night. Like you're just kind of like going through it again. But yoga meditation is saying like, I'm emptying my brain, so I'm letting anything come in. Yeah. It's like, why would you want to do that? Like that's not smart. So
no, I
love how this created more conflict than the systemic racism question.
Yeah, like what is happening?
Yeah, so
okay, what if we ask the fans, do you think there's anything wrong with using the term yoga?
Are we talking about using the term yoga or just yoga in general?
We're talking about the term yoga.
Okay, so
I'm going to say yoga in spite now. Just kidding. I might.
I'm going to say yoga, nay, stretching, heck yeah.
I kind of leave it as like DLC for the podcast. You were a big fan? Well, you can unlock this in our OnlyFans. So there. No, just kidding.
Wow.
No.
Oh
No. I'm not soliciting anything. Let the record show.
I thought we were going to get through the podcast without mentioning that. Because I was wrong. And then the testimony segment too.
You can unlock our testimonies in our OnlyFans account. That only costs $9.99. If you subscribe for the year, it's $5.99.
Oh my God. Please donate to us.
Oh gosh. All right. So,
Robbie, you want to start?
Yes, let's clear the air.
Redeem yourself.